Venye niligeuka just to check the test, it was positive. I think I pulled the drip and I started bleeding. So ikabidi nurse wakuje haraka wasilio place. Na uterus yake ni mzuri. You know, imagine watu wana operate na they're like having conversation about your intestines na nini. Na feel kuzaa ni kupata mtoto the normal way. So I was low-key mad at God. I was low-key bitter. Like kwa nini God ameallow nipate mtoto wangu na CS.
Gone are the days when impressing people was the in thing. When going to posh hotels just to get mirror selfies with high-end phones was such a big deal. Despite doing all this, a void sat deep down my heart. I needed to know my purpose in life, and that is when I decided to start the journey of chasing dreams. Walk with me. But before that, let's go back to where it all started.
When I was having these trust issues about leaving my baby with the nannies is when Kevin came to live with us. And it was really, really comforting for me knowing that I could go to work and be comfortable, because I knew Kevo angeni update if a nanny does something wrong. Now, as in that was helping with that, what is it called? The phobia I had, because like I said, I became that paranoid mom. I wanted to do everything by myself. I wanted to raise my kid because I felt no one else could raise her the same way I can. So knowing that Kevin was always around, and also Dave, they used to come, like Dave wasn't living with me, but he would frequent my house a lot, because even when you see my previous videos on YouTube when I started, you can see there used to be feet of some guys behind the scenes. Now, one time there's someone who texted me and they were like, so ambia watu wako nyuma watokange wako excuse while you're shooting. And I was like, shooting, yes, you can see my video is like 10 minutes, but it doesn't mean I spent 10 minutes to shoot this video. It can be a video that I shot for even 3 hours to 5 hours, but by the time I'm editing, I compress it to 10 minutes. So I can't tell, because my house was small, I can't tell Kevin and Dave to leave. So they were really helpful, because even when I was shooting my videos, they were always present. When I'm at work, they would send me videos of, because I remember there's even a video of Dave helping my daughter walk. He was teaching my daughter how to walk. Yeah, so that was comforting for me, knowing that I can trust, I have people, like family members who I can trust with, wakiwa nyumbani, with my baby. So life continued, and yeah, I resumed work. Marriage became sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter, and issues started arising. My marriage started shaking again. But this time round, I said I wasn't going to make a quick decision of like dropping the marriage without trying. I asked myself, right now, if God asks you, Vian, have you done everything you can do to try save your marriage? And I was like, no. So I said I will do everything that I can do to try save the marriage before hanging on the boots. Yeah. So tukaendelea hivyo, kina Kevin are around, but ikafika time, because Kevin and Dave walikuanga watu wa watu sana. Ikafika time sasa, I think Kevo akarudi kuishi na my aunt. Just 2 months into it, I remember now Kevin's sister was doing a wedding. Na kwa maisha yangu yote sijaisimamia wedding. This was the first wedding I ever, like, I was in the lineup. I have never been this happy. I don't know if it's because I was on the lineup or what, but this wedding, sijai experience furaha kaa hiyo kwa harusi. That wedding was so nice. It was full of joy. Yani it was so simple, but ungefeel tu kulikuwa na glory ya God kwa hiyo harusi, and everything was going on well. Yeah. So we started the day well, siku ikaendelea vizuri, and later on in the day now, because there's some people who couldn't attend the main wedding, There's some people who were unable to come to the main wedding, so kulikuwa na after party. It wasn't like a party, it was just a dinner for the people who didn't manage to come during the day, wakuje usiku. So we went there, and I remember people were just eating, and watu walikuwa nakula chipo na sodas, and ilikuwa ile time ya curfew. I think curfew was 11, it was at 11 or 11:30, I can't remember, I think 11. And on this particular day, I can't tell why, but venye tulienda huko, for some weird reason I didn't want to eat. Nilikuwa naambiwa kula na kata, naambiwa kunywa, as in siku kunywa liquor, like sodas. I was just like, no, even water. I refused to order anything, and I couldn't tell why. I was just okay. I was looking at people, and I remember kina Kevin and Dave, they were there and they were very happy. Kwanza Kevin used to love like very yummy things. So he had chipo, and I think it was fruit juice. Ilikuwa tu poa. So on our way back home, I remember I was in the same car with the bride and the groom, and tukaanza kurudi home because we had to get back home early because of the curfew. So tuka on our way, I think it was around 10ish. When we hit Thika Road, I was the co-driver, and then the groom and the bride were seated at the back. So tukiwa hapo Thika Road tu tuna drive tunaenda, I noticed people were driving recklessly. I think because there was curfew and people wanted to go home, to get home on time, wasishikwe because of the government curfew that was put. So the driver, the person who was driving, said, "Ona uyu," as in you see how sometimes people drive recklessly. So he made a comment, "Oneni uyu, oneni uyu." So to me, I just thought ni venye watu tu complain kwa barabara. So I didn't raise my head to look up and see what's happening. I continued looking at my phone, and I think in less than a minute, I heard a very loud bang. When I raised my head, I saw smoke-like things. I saw plastics on the air. Vitu tu zilikuwa zinaruka. And nikashtuka. I remember the thing that I said was, I hope sio watu wetu. Because much as we were in this car, there were other people who we had left the hotel with. We were together. I just said, I hope si watu wetu. I hope si watu wetu. I hope si watu wetu. So we saw a car, which was Harrier. It went and hit another car, but I didn't see which car that was. Tukaenda tukasimama mbele ya accident kuangalia, it's our people who were hit from behind. I was in shock. I was scared. As in, I didn't want to receive any bad news. I remember the person driving went out of the car. Now, even the groom went out of the car that we were in, and we were locked inside with the bride. So hii gari imebondwa, ilikuwa na watu wetu, like behind on the back seat. It was Kevin who was seated there, Dave, and another cousin of mine also, anaitwa Whitney. So kidogo Whitney amekuja anapiga nduru. We are like, nini? She's just shouting. She's screaming. We're like, Whitney, what's wrong? I peeped outside. I saw two people lying on the ground. I remember I opened the door and came outside the car. And I asked my husband, what's wrong? He grabbed me. He grabbed me. Thank he grabbed me and put me back in the car. I asked him, babe, what's wrong? He said, kaa hapo usitoke. But I'm seeing a lot of commotion. People are arguing back and forth. I couldn't. I came out of the car again. I was like, please don't tell me to go back without knowing what's going on. Just tell me what's up. He told me it's okay, just go back inside. I'll tell you what's wrong. But I couldn't. I just told him, please tell me the truth. What's happening? Because when I came outside, I saw Dave lying on the ground and Kevin was lying on the ground as well. According to what I saw, I thought Kevin was already dead because alikuwa amekondoa macho ile kabisa. I think he was unconscious. And the way I saw Dave seemed calm. He just seemed like he was in pain. So every time natoka nje nabebwa narudishwa kwa gari. Every time natoka nje nabebwa narudishwa kwa gari. I just told my hubby, please, niambie tu kweli, what's happening? He said, relax, we'll confirm. I said, let me just go look at them, try talk to them and find out if they're okay. So I went. I called Dave, because he seemed to be in a better state than Kevo. I called him, Dave. Dave wasn't responding, and I remember I saw him like breathe in and out, and he went mute. I started screaming. I was in pain. And I asked my hubby, just tell me the truth, is Dave gone? He told me, yeah, babe. Dave ameenda, Dave ametuacha. It was a very confusing state. In the car, we were crying. I remember now the bride was just there in shock. She didn't know what to do or say. At some point, she even fainted. It was a very big hit for us. So I think after, now we called our aunties and our uncles and gave them the news. They came, we called ambulances. And after some few minutes, I think Kevin regained conscience. And I remember him calling my hubby's name. Usiniache, and he looked like he was in so much pain. Usiniache, usiniache. So the ambulances came. One took Dave straight to the city mortuary, and the other one took Kevo to Kenyatta. So as we went to Kenyatta, and Kevin was wrapped in, there's this thing that looks like a foil, I think because he was feeling cold and he was in pain. They wrapped him there. I couldn't stand seeing Kevin in pain. So that's how we lost Dave on that same day. The next day, I was supposed to report back to work. And I remember I had like 3 clients in the morning. So I had to start making calls and tell them I won't be able, we've gone through this and that. And I remember one client, she had really traveled from far. She came from Bomet. So she was like, Vian, I know you're going through so much pain, but I've traveled all this far just for me to come have my hair done by you. Please just sacrifice. I know it's painful, but please, because there's somewhere important I'm traveling to. So I went, did her hair, and I remember she kept on talking to me about that, what had happened, and I was crying. And she was like, it's okay, Vian, it's okay to cry when you go through such pain. It's okay, cry it all out, I understand. So I finished with my first appointment. The second appointment also, I tried working on my client. It was a baby, and I was not in a good state. Saw my friend at work, she's called Tina. She called the mom to this baby, and she was like, hi mama so and so, can you please excuse Vian because she's not in the right state of, she's not at a place where she can work. Please just excuse us for today. And the client was so understanding, so they let me go. So on that, now the next day we went, saw Kevin at the hospital. When I went to the hospital, I saw Kevin. It took me back to when I went to see my mom at the same place. It was Kenyatta. It was bringing back memories. Remember, at this time, I haven't like completely healed from the loss of my mom, you know, and now it's Kevin that we're coming to see, and he had lots of, wires connected to his chest and all that. I was seeing Kevin go through so much pain, and the reports were coming in that his ribs were broken, and so many other things that had happened to him due to that impact that he got from the accident. And what was really hurting me the most is the fact that I think I didn't mention this. When Kevin was born, he was anemic. So you can imagine all his entire life, he's grown up as an anemic person. He's always in and out of hospital. Like his health hasn't been like 100%. Only for him to get to this, like hata si ugonjwa yenye imemsumbua tangu akiwa mdogo ndo inakuja kumweka kwa hii state. So this, when I saw Kevin at the hospital, ikaniuma sana the fact that nilikuwa nawapenda na nawa appreciate, but I never used to be verbal about it. So maybe they didn't even know. Dave left without knowing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he knew or he didn't, but I wasn't verbal about how grateful I was for how venye alikuwa anajitolea kwa life yangu, unajua. So when I went to see Kevin hapo ndani mali alikuwa admitted, I told him, because he couldn't speak, but at least alikuwa anasikia, he could nod. I told him, don't worry, you'll be okay, and God loves you and I love you. And it felt so nice that I could tell Kevin what I felt in my heart. I told him, don't worry, you'll get through this. So the next day, before I get to the next day first, the previous night, now that the accident had happened, we spent like the entire night at Kenyatta. And I remember when we went back home, now my hubby, because the entire night he was trying to be strong for me. I was the one who was crying. I was the one who's, in a bad state. He was trying to be strong for me. But now this next day we got back home, he was all bloody because he carried them from the car during that incident. So he said, let's call our parents, now his parents. And I told him, no, now shower first before we can inform mom and dad what has happened. And I remember after he showered, that's the first time I saw him during that moment break down. So we cried together. We called now my mother-in-law, and we told her about what had happened. We talked about it. We cried on the phone together. We cried. So fast forward again to now, after I've seen Kevin at the hospital, the next day, because we had not rested for that 1.5 days. So this is now the second day in the morning. I told my partner, let's switch off our phones because we really need to rest. It's been a long 2 days for us. We slept, and I think we woke up at around 10. When we woke up at 10, because I had put our phones on silent mode, I realized that we had like so many missed calls. We were having missed calls from our aunties, family members, my sister. When we called, we got the sad news that we had lost Kevin as well. It was so sad that this was a very, very beautiful day for our family, but we also ended up like losing 2 people. So we started like healing together as a family. We were spending time together during the week. Our friends supported us. My colleagues supported me. Thanks to everyone who stood by us during this time. So we even went for the burial and came back. We buried them. And before the burial, because I think we spent like two weeks doing the preparations of the burial, and I had to resume work before we traveled. And one time, because we used to talk with my friend at work, Tina again, we used to talk a lot. And I think at this point she was therapy for me, because she was always there to listen to the things I was going through emotionally. I remember one time I told her, yani, mi niko tu hapa nafanya kazi na kina Devo wako mochari. Niko hapa na kina Devo wako mochari. And I remember my friend telling me, don't say that. God anajua kwa nini may have to happen that way. So we buried them and then came back. When I was talking about how I lost my mom, you remember I said how I dealt with that loss was I was drinking a lot. So this time I said, during this loss, I don't want to do it the same way. So I kept on praying to God. I used to cry silently. It was painful. But now, okay, much as I was hurting, I realized I wasn't going through this alone. Even my partner was going through the same. But now how we were dealing with this situation was different. And the different ways of us dealing with this situation started drawing us apart. So remember, all the unresolved issues that we had started rising again. And because me, I'm dealing with my issues in prayers, he's dealing with his issues the best way he felt he was. I got to a point now I wasn't complaining. You know, when you're in a family setup like a union, when you try to solve issues, there are so many ways you can solve your issues. There are people who yell. There are some people who seek counsel. There's some people, yani kuna njia mingi. There's some people who pray. So me, I had done everything. I got to a point I felt like I had exhausted all the options of trying to save my marriage. So I got to the point of bottling up. Now everything that was happening, as hurting, as painful as it was, I was just bottling up. Because I remember I said I was intentional about trying to do everything I can within my means or power to make sure that I save my marriage. But this time I had run out of option. If it's counseling, we had gone for counseling. If it's talking in a calm way, I had done that. If it was being frustrated and shouting, I did. And I got to a point I felt like I was out of options. If it's praying, I did. Yeah, so I got to a point I was like, no, at the point where I'm at, I'm just gonna look and let the will of God take place. Because there's one time something happened. This is even before Kevin died. There's something that happened that really affected, in my marriage now, that really affected my prayer life. And I was like, God, I'm sure your will for me wasn't this. Na indoor haukunipatia ili ini draw away from you, you know. But if it's gotten to a point where I have to now question God, then this is not it. Na nikaanza kuuliza God, then why are these things happening? Yet before settling down, I had prayed, I had fasted and asked if this was your will, and you said yes. And sikuwa naelewa. I got to a point I didn't know how to pray, because I'm like, if I'm praying, what am I praying for? But God gave me answers. He gave me answers. Na naomba mniruhusu for today nisipeane answer God alinipea, but that answer really made sense. Na nikaacha kufeel ni kama maybe initwaje, because unajua kama you have prayed, umeuliza God, you want this thing to, you are asking if this is the will of God, ukue married to this person, and then he's given you an answer. Now you've settled, things are not working, you'll start questioning God again. I thought you said it's okay. I thought you said you are in it, na umenipea approval to this. Then why are things not working? But I think acha tunipeane answer. I think the answer God gave me was, you see, like in the Bible, I'm a person of faith, so I'll refer this to the Bible. God is the same person. God is the one who chose Saul to lead, but God is the same person who rejected Saul Why? Kwa sababu Saul ilifika mahali afanye kenye God anataka. So for every situation, God might have chosen you to do something, na inafika mahali unakata kufanya kenye God anataka. It doesn't mean God atakwama. He will find a plan B, hatakwama, even a plan C, D, E, and F. So for my situation, that's what I felt. It's not that God had not willed this person to be with me, but imefika mahali vitu are not working out, and God cannot force you. You know, there's that will He has for you, but He can't force you to do it. It's either you take it or leave it. That is how God operates, and life in a move on. So at this moment, I think my marriage had now figured 2 years. Our baby was 1.5 years. Nikaona mali tumefika, it has even become toxic for all of us. It is toxic for me because it is toxic for the baby. It is toxic even to my partner. Juu hakuna haja you guys are living together, you're not even talking. Ama mtoke kwa nyumba pamoja na mwingine anatembea like 10 steps ahead. Na unajua this was a marriage that was sweet. Na the things zenye zinasumbua hii marriage yenyu ni things that can be fixed, but mume choose not to fix it. So I said, God, nataka tu kutoka vizuri, no drama, no nothing. If it is not working, ni sawa. But when I said, I think I told my partner, I think it's not healthy anymore, and let me just leave. And deep down, to be honest, I was hoping God will do something to save the marriage. But nilikuwa naona nika vitu zina get worse. So on 31st again of that time, I think ilikuwa December 31st, something again happened that was a confirmation it was the right thing for me to leave. So I left. I think in 2 days I had gotten a house. So unakumbuka, this is just 2 months after we've lost Kevin and Dave. So na deal na hiyo pain, and then my baby was so fond of Kevin and Dave. At 1.5 years alikuwa nawajua. So sijamaliza kudeal na hii pain. 2 months later ndio hiyo marriage imeanguka. So now I'm starting to deal with the fact that now I'm starting a new life with just me and my baby. While we were living together, tulikuwa tunasaidiana. So now I'm alone, it means I'm doing everything by myself. Finances, nini, rent, nanny, kushughulikia mtoto, you see. So this was a transition that wasn't easy for me, but it is not even doing all these things by myself that wasn't easy. The hardest part was seeing my baby as young as she is, 1.5 years. She was also going through this pain, but she doesn't know how to express it. I remember 2 weeks into us living alone, my baby was constantly crying. Na sielewi analia nini. Nikitoka tu job analia, na she would, yani nikaa alikuwa na project all the pain she had, all, unajua kwa kavoid amezoea kuona babake, because the dad would come from work earlier than me because job yake inaisha haraka. Then me ningekuja late because maybe I have late appointments. So alikuwa amezoea kubond na the dad before I get home. But sasa every time she sees me, because the nanny would tell me, when you're at work, this baby is very okay. But every time I come back from work, my baby will just start crying, hanitaki, ananipiga, analia. Na nilikuwa nashindwa ni nini. One time I think I got so frustrated mpaka nilikuwa namscreamia, niko like, I don't know why you're crying, you know? I wish I can understand. Ndio, I think nikaanza ku-analyze that situation na nika-realize she's also going through this pain. Alikuwa na baba, na they were very tight. They were very, very tight. I think I have countless videos of them being together, and now she doesn't see this person at all. So she doesn't know how to say it. She's 1.5 years, for heaven's sake. So all she can do is cry. Unajua? So this for me was hard, seeing my baby go through so much pain. Na nilikuwa nashindwa ndafanya nini, because now it meant I had to work longer hours. Unapata by 5 nimetoka kwa nyumba 5 a.m. and I have to come back very late ndio ni try ku put everything together. So you see, I'm not there physically. So when I realized my baby was going through this, I purposed to be, you know, to be more active in her life, as in nisi concentrate na kazi sana nimsahau. So no matter how late I get back home, I always try nipate time na yeye, because sometimes unajisahaungi, unapata you're tired, you just want to rest. So I started embracing her more, namhug, I tell her I love her more, na nika realize this was helping. As much as she's a baby, she was understanding. So that little time I was getting with her ilikuwa inasaidia. Na I started analyzing the situation, and I can notice many a times when two people decide to part ways, wanasahau mtoto pia ako kwa picha na anakuwa affected. Mimi naweza ajua tu, if it fits to a point you guys have decided, labda ni wewe umeamua okay sitaki huyu mtu, ama wewe mtu ameamua hakutaki, ama mmeamua tu tuachane, don't let the baby suffer because of that choice. Separate your issues from mtoto, kwa sababu ako affected as well, because matters hamta explain ama mnafikiria ni mdogo or anything, they understand and they hurt as well. It's not just the adults that go through the pain of transition, pia umtoi. Na pia ilikuwa painful for me, if you've watched the episode where I was talking about growing up without a dad. Before settling down, nilikuwa naambia Mungu sitaki kuingia kwa ndoa kama ita break, because I don't want my baby to go through the same. So nilikuwa naona hii kitu ina happen, and it was painful to know that now my baby is gonna go through the same, and I felt it was worse for her, because yeye asha bond na babake. Unajua, me I grew up without seeing a father figure. Yeye ameona babake, wamebond, and then all of a sudden he's not there. Unajua, now also you can't force someone into to be in someone into the child's life. So this was painful for me, but I thank God through prayers. Najua wenye maybe how I believe in, they're not people of faith or prayerful people, hamta understand, but for me prayer works a lot. I started praying for my child more, nikaambia God amsaidie pia mimi as I'm healing, pia yasisaulike, I heal through it. And right now she's 2.5 years, it's 1 year down the line, and I can say we are at a better space, and I thank God for this far ametuleta. Yeah, he's been faithful, he's been a faithful God, amekuwa provider, amekuwa, yani I've seen God in ways sijaimwona kwa life yangu. I would just love to encourage someone, if you're faithful to God, he will do things yani beyond your expectation, beyond even what you expected him to do. For me, I can say for every situation you're going through, no matter how hard it is or it feels, just know God can take you out of it. Just be intentional about prayer, na usijali, God atakutoa tu hapo. It can't be otherwise. Yani ukijitolea, God is a faithful God. That's what I've seen. As in, like, the fact that some things I don't even have to say, people are even telling me, hey, tumeona God amefanya this and that for you. That is a testimony that sijui, yani words, I even lack words to explain as in how faithful God is. So I'd encourage everyone, every single mother, every single father, because people only concentrate with the mothers. Nimekam ku realize pia there are so many single fathers out there who are doing a good job. Msijali, God atawasaidia, atawagrace. The grace is sufficient for every situation. Hakuna kitu ngumu kwa God, na yeah, he's a faithful God. You just be prayerful and do the right thing. The rest he'll put every other thing in place.